hard to say this one is difficult and this one is not. But I think the space of science is more challenging. It's more in depth, because when you get into the space of like pharmacy, majority of it, not all of it, it's clinical based, so it's learning interactions with patients. So it's curated around that, like providing service to patients. Whereas with science, you are putting in the background work of what they are dispensing. So if it's medicine or whatever the case may be, you are literally the guy who makes that. You're literally the
Welcome to yet another amazing episode with SA Science Spotlight podcast. We are here with an amazing guest today at the UP Physics Department, and we are so excited to bring this amazing episode to you guys. So before we go into our interview, we wanted to remind you, please do not forget that I'm always with my amazing guest, Clinton Dlamini, who's going to be our ghost man today. And also, please do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment, because the more you subscribe, guys, you're keeping us going, you're helping build the channel. So comment if there's any insight that you like throughout the interview. If there are any further questions that you want to ask, feel free to drop your comment. And also, do not forget to follow us on all our platforms. We are there on Twitter, we're there on Instagram. Make sure that you always follow us at SA Science Spotlight Podcast. So our amazing guest today, I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce herself. I am so excited for this interview. Just give us an introduction, the best you can.
Oh my gosh, I do not have anything to give you guys except my name is Penny, but full name is Penelope Rampedi, and I am an aspiring pharmaceutical scientist.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
So, you're just like into the pharmacy, but the science part of it, or is it like everything in pharmacy?
The science part of it. Definitely the science part of it, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So today, the guest that we're bringing you today she did a Bachelor of Sciences in Life Sciences, majoring in biochemistry and physiology. Yes. So she did her master's in pharmaceutical scientist, and you're now exploring your PhD as well in the same industry.
Yes, but the master's was master's in pharmacy, so the coding is different.
The coding is
different. Yeah, the coding is different. It was master's in pharmacy, but I was strictly doing pharmaceutics, and now I'm like in my PhD doing pharmacology, even though it's still, pharmaceutics.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So did you first have to do like a degree in pharmacology, or you just took the Bachelor of Life Sciences to another level?
No, I just took the Bachelor of Sciences degree to another level. When you get into BSc, it's kind of hard at the beginning for you to see what the end point is and what the end goal is. So you start working with what you have and what it is that you can exploit with what you have in terms of the content and the modules that you're doing, and see how you can take it further. So that's what I did. I literally had to make it work as I was like doing my Bachelor of Sciences, and I took it further from that.
So when you did Bachelor of Sciences, obviously there has to be a beginning to a story. So how was your upbringing like, and can you tell us to the point where you ended up doing BSc in Life Sciences? How was that like for you?
Funny enough, I think I wanted to be a newsreader growing up. Like, science was never a thing at first, because I was like, I want to be on TV, I want to read the news, like a presenter, I want to read the news. So that was like a cool thing going on for a while. I think I was still in primary at that time, and I was exploring. My mom used to buy us newspapers, so we'd learn English by reading newspapers. So you would pretend like you are like, reading a news clip of something by reading the newspaper. And then I got into high school. Obviously, I got exposed to different careers, and now I was like, you know what, I want to do aeronautical engineering, something to do with aerospace and creating spaceships and all of those things. It was so cool, and it looked so great for a while, and then I researched about it. And then I found out it was so difficult. I was like, nah, I'm not into like, yeah, I want a quick way out of things. These things of
Not
being
the longest way around.
No, don't give me those things. And then I searched around for a while. I wanted to do actual sciences at some point, and then I wanted to be a medical doctor at some point, and then I wanted to be a scientist. I was just like all over the place. Yeah, and then I think it only got clearer once I got to university. But in high school, I think my definition point was I definitely know that I want to be in the space of medicine. But how exactly, I'm not really quite sure how that's going to work out. But once I went into university, I think everything just came into full circle from where I was from, high school, not knowing, trying to, dabble around everything. But medicine was always the core foundation of what I wanted to do.
Actually, when you say that, you're just reminding me of the learners we have today who have an open day.
Yes.
Like, they know what they want. And like yourself, when I was in grade 10 or the younger grades, I didn't know what I wanted. I also actually wanted to be on that space, but I wanted to be more on the astronomy side of things and all those things.
Yeah.
But if you could hear what those grade 10 learners were saying and how passionate they were about whatever they wanted to be. It was like, I was like, wow, you guys are in grade 10?
Right.
Like, really?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Times have evolved, and I think the exposure to also different careers right now is so big compared to what we had before. I think what we had before, you always knew that if you don't go into engineering or medicine, or it was just so restricted. We didn't have all this information, and even when we did like open days, we did them really late when we were doing like grade 11, grade 12, and you just only go to one universities. We didn't get exposed as much. Even when you're starting to search on the internet, you don't really know what to search for when you're looking for a career because you don't know anything. You can't search for something you don't know. So I think it's amazing what, how much time has evolved and exposure that the kids are having now and the information available at them. I think it's such an amazing thing for them to know. Yeah.
Imagine knowing what you're going to do for the rest of your life at the age of 16.
Imagine.
That's wonderful.
It took me at age 25 to really figure it out, but I'm glad for them. I'm happy for them.
So what subjects did you choose when you were in grade 10?
Sciences, which was quite contradictory because I was good in accounting, but I wanted to do science. I was all over the place. But I knew that, like I said, everything had to be centered around me doing medicine at that point. I was quite sure. So the obvious part to take was definitely to go into sciences, and I did that. And when I'm going to grade 10, you literally drop off everything that is accounting and history and geography,
and you focus mainly
on science. But even then, it's still broad. You still do your life sciences, your physics, your maths. Non-negotiable, definitely pure maths. If you're doing sciences, we didn't have the option of doing literacy, maths literacy, which wasn't a thing for us. But that's how I got to choose sciences, because I knew I wanted to be in the space of medicine, and by virtue, you have to go into the sciences field.
Now that we're actually in that conversation, before I can even go, I wanted to actually ask, do you think that in grade 10, let me just use an example to ask the question. What if I'm in grade 10 and then I choose science, but then after I finish grade 12, I decide, you know what, I think I want to go for finance. So do you think the way that the subject choices are, they're like, if you're doing science, you're doing science. Do you think it's sufficient in the long run if someone wants to change and do something else?
You know what, I mean, I think probably government would have a better response in terms of that question, because curating curriculum development takes a lot, and when you create curriculum development, you obviously have to segregate and have some sort of like mainstreams. There are some institutions, probably most of them private institutions, that kind of mix everything. Some people were doing accounting and physics or physical sciences in their matric, so they were not really limited. They kind of have the best of everything. So in case you do decide that you don't want to do this, you can still always go with this. So I'm not sure if I would have the best answer to that. But I think mixing everything up would definitely work for you to be able to decide, even though it is not cast in stone, because I know that I did my sciences, but immediately after my matric, I didn't go straight into university. So I took a bit of a gap year. But in that gap year, I was actually doing accounting, even though I had a science background. So it's nothing defining, and it's nothing, you know, it's not like the end of the line. You can always move in between spaces depending on how or where you want to be and what you want to do with that. Obviously, it will have to make sense of how you want to structure it together. But it's not a casting stone because you chose sciences in grade 10 and then you have to continuously follow with that path. But I would definitely recommend like the mixture of having everything, a bit of geography and physics and accounting, just for you to have options. Even IT or computer-related studies, they must definitely all be in there. Yeah, I think it'll be a nice 7 colors thing going on. Yeah,
like a lot to choose from. If you
a lot to choose from. Let's not limit people, because I think it also limits our mindset in terms of thinking. Everybody else is thinking, since I chose science, I have to make sure I do something in the science field, and you don't broaden your mental horizon in terms of what you can think of doing and venturing into. There's so many. Nothing is a casting stone. You could do science and end up in agriculture. You could do accounting and end up in science, or end up in history, or, you know, it's just so broad, and nothing is a casting stone.
Okay. Yeah. So now take us through. You finished high school.
Yeah.
And then you've hinted that you took a gap year. Then how did you come to do Bachelor of Sciences in Life Sciences?
I took a gap year because I got accepted, I think, to study at VETS, and their prices were so ridiculous. They're like, give us 10 grand for registration. And you know the thing also about our parents, it's almost as if they didn't know we're going to finish school, so they never prepared. Like, you know, it's like, I was surprised. Like, oh, you made it to matric, oh my gosh, you know. It almost feels as if it's like that. So they didn't have that money at that particular point in time. So, and you know, they always give you like a time limit to register, and then they cut off registrations, and I tried and I didn't get anything. I was like, you know what, it's fine. I don't want to upgrade because my marks are really fine. I just don't want to mess up with my things. So I'll just take a gap year and see what I do. And yeah, in that gap year, I went to work at PEP, by the way, which was shattering, because now, when we're in high school, everybody has the dream of going to university.
Yes.
And your friends are going to university, and you're the one who's left behind. You're literally the one who's left behind. Everybody looks like they're doing good. And you know, there's also that stigma, oh, you're from university, you know, during the school holidays, everybody's coming from university, and then there you are selling airtime to people at PEP. The very same people who are back for the school holidays, now you're selling them airtime or like phones or whatever. So it was a bit of a challenging time for me to discover, but I think I took that time for me, and I thought about exactly what I wanted to do. I still knew that I still want to be in the space of medicine. Just because I'm taking a gap year, I didn't want to divert. I didn't want to be influenced with anything. I took accounting within that year as I was working at PEP. Taking accounting was trying to start the foundation of what my future was going to look like. Wanting to do medicine and eventually wanting to own a company that is in the science space, or, you know, anything relating to science. Because remember, at that time, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know I want to be in the, you know, space of medicine and science. So, but I want to be an entrepreneur also at the same time. And I want to be able to run my own company. I don't want to be cheated out of, you know, finances and people doing things that I don't know from my own company. So I was like, you know what, the foundation is for me to just like register and start. And I did cost and management accounting from Oxbridge Academy. I think it's based in Stellenbosch. Yeah, so I did that, but it was like a long distance learning. And yeah, it took some time, you know, to think about and figure out. And I registered for that year. I was like, you know, I'm going to do my Bachelor of Sciences so I can get accepted into university. And then I'll just take it from there and see how it goes, but the plan is the same.
The same to be
Get
in the
into
field.
in the space of medicine,
Medicine.
and that's how I ended up applying for Bachelor of Sciences during that gap year. Yeah.
Clinton, do you want to add?
I thought you guys forgot about me. I love what I'm saying. Thank you so much, Pen, for joining us. It's really an honor to have seeing two ladies in science doing the most. Thank you so much. So from my side, I just wanted to find out, you did a BS in Life Sciences, then you went to the pharmacy side. How would you compare the two degrees or the two qualifications? Which one would you say is more difficult? And how did you overcome the challenges that you've encountered with that particular qualification?
Which one is more difficult? That's subjective, though. Everybody thinks the course they're doing is difficult.
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to say this one is difficult and this one is not. But I think the space of science is more challenging. It's more in depth, because when you get into the space of like pharmacy, majority of it, not all of it, it's clinical based, so it's learning interactions with patients, so it's curated around that, like providing service to patients. Whereas with science, you are putting in the background work of what they are dispensing. So if it's medicine or whatever the case may be, you are literally the guy who makes that. You're literally the guy who studies what needs to be cured, what needs to be treated, what's the problem that we can solve, and you become that. So it's more in depth. For instance, there's chemistry on both sides, but I would say that the chemistry on the science part is so vast and so deep, purely because you are creating something, and that the foundation of it is chemistry. The basis of it is it's chemistry. And then there it's like, yes, we want to know the chemistry behind what you're doing, but we just want to give it to people. That's what some of the differences that exist. So yeah.
Nice. So for someone like me who's in physics, say maybe I wanted to come do your industry, would I need to then go do an honors in chemistry, or there's a space or I can be able to come into that side?
The nice part is that you can curate, you can tailor make whatever it is that you want to get into the space of science. So even if you don't do chemistry as a course itself, you can still register for you wanting to do be in the space of pharmaceutics, but you have to use what you have and then just fit it into that. The chemistry will come along the way as you are doing. You don't have to necessarily like, oh no, I have to get a bachelor's degree in chemistry or whatnot. Like, it's just part of the process for you to know the concepts and the foundation of the chemistry behind it. But I don't think it's necessary for you to do a whole entire course. No.
Okay, makes sense. No, thanks, Londa.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, part of it when you were explaining, when you were answering Clinton, you did hint a bit on pharmaceutical sciences. So for someone who doesn't know it at all, can you explain it to them what it is?
So pharmaceutical sciences is a multidisciplinary field, and it sounds like a big word, but it definitely is. When you check from the dictionary, they always use the word multidisciplinary, but on the ground, it's actually like that. It's a multidisciplinary field that involves the discovery of new drugs, the development of also new products, therapeutic products, and also the refinement of therapeutic agents or products. So what essentially that means, because it sounds all big and it's all those English words. So what we do is that we discover new drugs, which is the first thing. The second thing is that we improve current existing treatment forms. So for an example, if you have, maybe flu is being treated with pills, we find different ways on how we can come up with different ways on how to administer the same pills, the same drugs, but in different forms instead of using pills, So we try and come up with different ways on how to make medicine to be better, depending on whatever problem we're solving. And then, on how to treat diseases, how to treat medical conditions. That's essentially what pharmaceutical sciences is. We discover, we make new products, we also improve or come up with better ways on how to deliver or administer medications.
So, do you think that doing Bachelor of Science and majoring in Life Sciences did help you when you got into the pharmaceutical science side of things?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because essentially what pharmaceutical sciences is a combination of physiology and chemistry. That's literally what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, that is exactly what you were doing. If you were trying to come up with ways on how to treat, existing medical conditions or diseases, whatever it could be, you need to know the physiology behind what you're trying to treat. You need to know the physiology behind the defects of what is currently existing and what's not working. And then the chemistry part comes in. How do I design something that will be able to treat this thing? So I did physiology in my undergrad, physiology, pathophysiology. So it helped a lot in bridging, the transitioning between from my undergrad into my postgrad. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when you go now to the job market, what skills or what kind of expectations do they have for you in order maybe to secure a good job in the market?
We don't have a specific way of going about it. I think the market is so broad, and like I say, you have to curate and tailor design it for what you want to do. You could literally work at any company, but that company would want a specific set of skills. So it's not like a fixated thing that you need to have this. But I think as a baseline from everything, when you're in the space of pharmaceutical sciences, you definitely need to have good communication skills. You definitely need to have good critical and analyzing skills, because when you are a scientist, when you're a researcher, when you are working in the space of science, let me put it like that, you have to have good critical skills. You need to be able to know what is working, what is not working, how can we improve, how can we manage, how can we upscale, how can we redefine, redesign, repurpose. You're always thinking, critically, using your brain, and if something doesn't work, so those are some of the skills that they want in the industry, or when you work at any particular company. You need to be able to demonstrate that you can solve problems, not just
be innovative.
And be innovative, and not just like, guys, this is wrong, we're facing. What solutions are you bringing? And that takes a lot of critical thinking and critical analysis. And then a majority of the work that we do, except for designing and everything, is communication. So at the end of the day, we are communicating what we do in either the lab, in the industry, in academia, whatever, putting it out there and ensure that everybody else is able to understand the solutions that we're bringing through communication. You have to have good communication skills. So I think as a baseline, if you have that and you take it to different industries or academia or wherever you want to be, or in private organizations, the baseline, those are the skills that you'd need to have as baseline. But everything else is always curated to the space that you want to go into, the field that you want to go into, which is never the same for every other different space in terms of the skills that they require.
And obviously, in each and every field out there, there are pros and cons, and there are challenges and benefits as well.
Yeah.
So in the pharmaceutical field, what challenges have you come across?
For myself, I'll make it a little bit more personal because I think I started doing my master's in 2020, and that was COVID year. COVID year was a mess. Nobody had anything figured out. We were just freeballing things, And then this online learning became a thing. We're still trying to find a way around it. But some of the challenges that I faced, that I already had developed a research protocol of the project that I wanted to do and go into. But now we have to source out materials of, the project that I have to go. It's involving drugs. It's involving other, polymeric materials that we need to use in combination with the drugs. So we don't have the drug readily available. We're ordering from China. Our drugs are coming all the way from China.
COVID.
During COVID, it was a mess. I think it took us months, like months, for us to receive those drugs. And just knowing that time you're waiting for the drugs, the project is on a standstill.
Because it's waiting for the
it's
drug.
waiting for
and
the
drug
drugs.
is in China.
The drugs is going through customs, crossing different time zones.
And then skipping also sanctions and skipping, what did they call them at that time? Lockdown.
Yes, you know, and not everybody's working at the time. Everybody's like, go home. Only essential workers are working. It's only very few where you'd find, you know, being in the space of customs and things like that. They have your backlog of certain work they need to do. So it's just like a challenge when it came to that. And some of the challenge, if I'm being honest, you're not going to be able to solve them. You just have to wait it out, because there's nothing we could have done, because we didn't have those drugs readily available in our country. So we had to order from suppliers, which the suppliers don't have, and then they take it to you know, they order those things that they don't have from manufacturers from overseas. Then and then the product comes. You already have lost quite substantial amount of time. You have to start with the project. By the way, you're not going to get it instantly. Like, that's the hard part about research, that you're not going to like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm just going to get there and mix this and mix that, and it works out. Maybe I can adjust this a little bit. It takes time. Hence the critical thinking part comes in that sense. Some things are not going to work out. You have to do a whole back and forth, and sometimes it can take you months for you to be able to crack a formulation. Remember, you're developing a product. It's something that needs to follow specific guidelines. It's something that needs to be designed and molded in such a way that you don't just create your own thing because you feel like doing it. You still are following guidelines. You're still meeting whatever criteria that needs to be met while you are being innovative and exploring whatever combinations of whatever things that you can do. It took some time. Sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes we didn't have certain equipment. We had to look for an external source. We worked heavily with CSIR at that time because we didn't have some of those things. And then also, for the part of the major challenge about us is that I was doing my master's at the Sefako Health Science University. The department was newly established. So we were the first cohort. There was some girl who came before me, but she was also still in the program when I came along. So we're like she was the first generation, I was the second generation of the program, Pharmaceutical Sciences. There is no prototype. There's no, oh, she did it, yeah, and then we could go to her. We are literally paving the way ourselves.
Oh, you were like doing
it was a challenge. First time trying to figure out things. We don't have any sort of prototype or blueprint on how to go about certain things. You know, so there's no one we can actually go and look up to. So we always have to doing collaborations with people outside and things like that. Luckily, I had a great supervisor, somebody who was well established in the field. So yeah.
Where did it cut?
It was actually done.
It was actually done.
Yeah, it was